So, since the moment we moved into our house, I have not liked our kitchen. First of all, society has conditioned me to see dark 70s paneling as unattractive, although my guess is that eventually this too will be back in style one of these years. But in this room, more than any other rooms in our house, I tend to quickly notice and get caught up in all of the things I would like to change about my kitchen. Although I do have mental lists about all the other rooms too, they're just not quite as extensive as this one. And I've spent a lot of time poring over magazines, tearing out pictures of kitchens that I like so that I have this plethora of ideas if we ever do actually have an opportunity to redo ours. And I've spent a lot of time envying the folks who have these lovely, bright, welcoming kitchens with lots of clean counter space. And I've spent a lot of time envying folks who have money and time and ambition to redo their kitchens, and a lot of time wishing that we weren't quite so busy in our home and that we too could finally have this kitchen that I've dreamed about for 11 years. And I've spent a lot of time in my kitchen looking around, wishing it was different, stewing not only over what I'm preparing, but stewing about how unattractive and outdated I feel our kitchen is now. And I've spent a lot of time being anxious over how the counters are messy, or the table is cluttered with all sorts of mail, or dirty dishes, or books, or toys, or you name it. And I've spent a lot of time thinking, wow, if my kitchen just looked this other way and was cleaner, we could have a more welcoming and hospitable space to invite others over. And maybe then people would think better of me if I had an attractive kitchen rather than this outdated one. Or wow, if my kitchen just looked this other way, we could spend a lot more time in here as a family and have fun, and we'd actually want to spend time in here together. Or wow, if my kitchen just looked this other way, I'd finally be happy. At least for me, it seems as though I'm always one step away from happiness. We look around and we see what everyone else has and we think, well, if our house only looked like theirs, then I'd be happy. Or if my body only looked like hers, then I'd be happy. Or if I just had the same gifts that he does, then I'd be happy. And so on. And so forth. And it seems to be so deeply ingrained in us as humans to assume that if only we had what someone else had, we would be happy. In the psalm that Rebecca just read for us, the psalmist lists all these things that are a source of envy, which perhaps don't sound so far off from the things which make us envious today. Envy because of the prosperity of others. Envy because of people whose bodies are fit and sleek and healthy and strong. Envy for people who don't seem to suffer at all, even when perhaps they're making choices that we think should maybe bring about some different consequences. Envy for those who have time and money to indulge in worldly pleasures. Envy for those who seem more privileged. Envy for others who have praise heaped upon them from other folks when we wonder why we are being overlooked. And did any of those sound familiar for you? Because there are certainly some that strike me as I read through this. And I continue to struggle with as well. But it seems so deeply ingrained in human nature to covet what others have, assuming our happiness lies just beyond our reach. And I think God knows this. And after all, do not covet is one of the 10 commandments. But wow, does our culture and society pick up on this jealousy as part of human nature and use it to its advantage. For example, pay attention to the advertisements you're bombarded with. They do such a wonderful job of painting this picture of what this good life looks like, conveniently centered around whatever product they're hoping to sell. In fact, earlier this week, I came across an advertisement that struck me in preparation for this sermon because it was advertising this one company's kitchen cabinets and pretty blatantly suggested that if I purchased their cabinets, I'd be able to host better, prepare better food, and have better conversations in the kitchen. But again, this picture that our country's media and advertisements paint is that we're simply one step away from having what we want. And they build upon natural and good human longings, such as longings for meaningful relationships, or longings for having joy in what's around us, or longings to be hospitable. And the ads pick up on these good longings and twist them for their advantage. If we buy this certain product, we'll finally be able to achieve satisfaction in how our home looks. If we look this certain way because of what we've purchased to enhance our style or makeup or body type or hair color, etc., we'll finally have people like us and want to spend time with us. If we buy this latest tech gadget, we'll finally be able to connect with people more often and learn more about the world around us. These advertisements seem to assure us that if we purchase these things, we can finally be like those people who have what we want and desire. We're always one step away from happiness. One step away from achieving the type of life we want, one step away from seeing ourselves as people worthy of being loved and respect. And as I was thinking about this week, I spent a lot of time wondering how much envy builds upon our own low self-worth, or our sense of inadequacy in who we feel we are. We so quickly buy into the lies that the fallen powers and advertisements are trying to make us believe that we're not good enough unless we have a stylish home or kitchen, that people won't like us unless we dress or think or act in a certain way, that we're not worthy of love just the way we are right now. And so we envy what others have, or how they look, or how they engage with others, or how others engage with them, and we grow bitter. And we assume that life is a competition which breeds contempt for those who have what we want. We convince ourselves that if someone else succeeds or has a nice home, that we are somehow diminished, less successful, less acceptable, less worthy of being loved. And this envy festers, and our dissatisfaction eats at us to the extent that it's difficult to enjoy the blessings and gifts that God has already given to us. We spend so much of our time and energy seeking after that next thing that we think will bring us happiness. And we may be happy for a bit if we finally achieve it or acquire it. But these things tend to lose their luster quickly. And if we are able to finally possess them, sometimes we come to find that they didn't actually bring us the happiness we were longing for. So we begin to fixate on something else, assuming that this next thing will finally bring us this happiness we've been longing for. And so on, and so forth, until one day, when perhaps we realize that we haven't actually added or enhanced a single hour of our lives. Maybe then we'll recognize just how many of the important things in life that we have missed chasing after these other things. Maybe then we'll realize that our heart was longing after a treasure that we already had. Maybe then we'll realize that we were going through our lives with our eyes shut, and we missed all the places where God was already present with us and gifting us with what it was we desired all along.